Hey guys, welcome back. So today I wanted to explain a little bit about annotated bibliographies and go over that with you and explain a little bit about where we're going next with our segment. So traditionally, what I've done is had a natural science unit where you chose a topic within the natural science realm, but looking at the survey feedback from the beginning of the course and talking with previous students, I think what I want to do is I want to give you a little bit more leeway and have more of an open-ended personal topic to choose for this, okay? So instead of just diving into natural science, we're going to look at something that's a little more relevant to you, hopefully. So I just want to share with you a couple things. So let's go ahead and we're going to look at our As You Learn site. Okay, so for week 4, so this week we're going to tackle annotated bibliography. So I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so I want you to think about discourse communities. I want you to think about the article Create a Research Space, okay, that CARS model of research introductions, because now we're really getting into our research focused, research-oriented unit with RC 2001. I know that you're familiar with this from RC 1000, from other courses. We want to take it a step further, and we really want it to apply it to you. And you know, that idea of discourse community should be something that's personal. It should be this idea of you're in this community of individuals, of learners, of academics within a certain realm, whether that discourse community is people who play Minecraft, or whether it's in the discourse community of computer science majors, okay, whatever that is, what does that mean exactly? What knowledge is inherent to be part of that discourse community? Okay, so for this project, you're going to choose and analyze text. So by text, and let me put that in air quotes, text, that's not just written documents, okay? So you'll choose and analyze text in your future discourse community, whatever that is. That can be your college major, or if there's something that you're even more passionate about because perhaps you haven't chosen a major yet, that's fine too. At least one primarily written text. Okay, so I do want at least one written text. And then at least one primary audio and or visual. So let me give you, for instance, so I'm really big into the JFK assassination. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, but this is like one conspiracy theorist that I do conspiracy theory I do subscribe to. So in that discourse community, there's, you know, plethora of text, but there's like these go-to texts that everyone reads. You know, there's one called Rush to Judgment by Mark Lane. There's another one On the Trail of the Assassins by Jim Garrison. Okay, those are like the seminal texts that you have to have read in order to be kind of part of that discourse community or be familiar with in that discourse community. But then there's also, you know, the visuals. So the Zapruder film, right? That's a visual, okay? A visual text that is needed to be part of that discourse community, or perhaps even maybe the film JFK. You have to be familiar with those. Okay, so you're going to look at primarily 5 sources initially. That will probably increase, and that may change. You may pick something different as far as your sources later on in the project. So you're going to pick those sources in order to get a clear idea of how text and communication operate in your field, okay, in your discourse community, and then why those texts might be composed in the way that they are. So thinking back to what I said, so like Rush to Judgment by Mark Lane. So it's composed in a way that is a little bit like a novel, and then a little bit more like research writing. So he presents this narrative, but then there's also a lot of research that's tied into it, okay? The topic of this project, however, needs to center around a current controversy in your discourse community. So it's not just about your discourse community, but what's the current controversy in that discourse community? What's going on that's controversial, okay? Maybe there's something going on with social justice, with equity. Maybe there's something going on in this with new laws, with new restrictions, okay? What's going on in your discourse community? That's going to be the overall focus of this project. So the text that you can choose. So right now we're just looking at a little segment, okay? I don't want you to look at the entire project yet. Right now we're just looking at annotated bibliographies. And these are your first steps into research when you have a topic, So after you think about, okay, here's my discourse community, here's the controversy, let me see what's going on, then you step into the realm of annotated bibliographies. So the text you can choose can be scholarly, okay, or it can be something more produced within the profession in your discourse community. But your analysis is focusing on the how, not the what of your text. So it really doesn't matter what the text says, but how it says it, okay? So as you look at these texts, okay, how are they presented, okay? How are these ideas presented? How do they come across more so than the ideas themselves? So your concerns will be more about how the texts operate than what they mean, okay? An analysis of how information is presented, not a critique of the information itself. And really, in a nutshell, that's what rhetoric is. We're looking at the persuasiveness, how informative these things are, more so than what they are actually persuading us to believe or inform. So as you analyze your text, I want you to ask yourself, what do the authors make, okay, or why do they make the rhetorical stylistic choices that they did in order to appeal to this target audience or achieve their intended purpose? Okay, so they're talking about this controversy. How does that come across in what they're writing? So let's talk about annotated bibliographies. Okay, let's talk about the nuts and bolts of this. All right, so with annotated bibliographies, just looking at the name itself, okay, to annotate something means you are making notes. So you're making notations, all right, about your sources, right? Bibliography, okay, sources. So you're making notes about sources. Hopefully you've done one of these before. So an annotated bibliography looks a lot like a works cited page or a references page. It's typically never published. So if you have to do like a dissertation thesis, you'll probably do an annotated bib, but it won't really be published in your findings. It is more for you as the researcher. So later on, maybe you get into grad school and you have to do that dissertation. You've got like 50 sources. You're not going to be able to keep track in your head what was in all of those sources, all of that information, you know, what the author was trying to get across. Yeah, you might get a little bit of that from the title, but annotated bibs serve the purpose of keeping track of your sources, particularly if you have a lot, but then also really critiquing and analyzing those sources. So to build an annotated bib, okay, let me just share this with you, okay, and we'll talk more about how to do that. Here we go, okay. And I believe this document is on As You Learn as well. Annotated bib, list of citations to books, articles, documents. Each citation is followed by a brief, okay, about 150 word descriptive and evaluated paragraph, the annotation. So you've got the citation for the source as it would look in a works cited page. Then you've got the annotation, the notes on that source. Okay, so you're informing the reader, you're informing the researcher yourself of the relevance, accuracy, and quality of the sources cited. Now, right off the bat, if you come across a source and you know there's no way that you're going to use that in your work, just toss it. Don't put it in the annotated bib. You don't want a source in there you say, wow, this is a really bad source and the research is not credible, blah, blah, blah. Don't waste your time on that. Okay, if you know that you're probably not going to use that source, please do not put it in your annotated bib. Okay, so you need concise exposition, succinct analysis, informed library research. So you want to find the best sources possible, okay? So locate those sources, cite it according to the documentation style that's prevalent in your discourse community. I'd suggest looking at our textbook, looking at MLA, APA, seeing which formatting style fits with your discourse community. If you're something in humanities and arts, that might be MLA. If you're something in the natural sciences, social sciences, that might be APA. Okay, look at Going to Achieve, look at our e-textbook, okay, look at that section. You're going to use the same format as you would an actual works cited page, okay, or references page. The citations need to be in alphabetical order. This is important, alphabetical order, okay, by either the author's last name or by the article title. If there's no author's name, you go by the article title. If there's no article title, you go by the organization, okay. You leave out words such as the, okay, right? That's not going to count for alphabetization. You go to the second word. Write a concise annotation that summarizes the central theme and scope of the book or article. Okay, whatever your text is saying. You're going to have 3 parts. Okay, you're going to have at least 3 sentences in your annotated bib. Okay, 1, Okay, you need a summary, you need an analysis, and you need a response. Okay, summary, analysis, response. What they've listed here, yes, this is important. Evaluate the authority, intended audience, all of that. Okay, but you need three things. You need a summary, analysis, response. So let me show you what that looks like in an actual document. Okay, and I'm going to show you this setup. Okay. All right, so here's a template. So notice I've got my nice formatting here. Okay, you can change all of that. Annotated bib. So here's my citation. Now, you don't have to put summary, analysis, response. I just put that there to remind myself. So notice I've got my hanging indents right here. Some of you are not doing hanging indents. Please do those, okay? If your source goes to a second or third line, that second or third line gets indented so that the reader knows and can see exactly where the citation begins and ends for each source, all right? If you don't know how to do that, it's very simple. You go up to your paragraph settings, under special indentation, click on hanging. Okay, boom, it changes it. You want your annotation to be hanging too, because that's still part of your citation. All right, so summary. What is a summary? That's like the back of the DVD box cover version of the article. It's kind of like an abstract. All right, so summarize what is in the article. Okay, so this clinical report, and I'm just making this up, folks. This clinical report covers information relevant to the impact of social media on children. Okay, I can leave that at one sentence. I can go further if I want to. Whatever I put is going to benefit me as the researcher, as the reader. This report shows the negative impacts. Okay, and I can go into that, blah, blah, blah. So that's my summary. Now I need an analysis. An analysis looks at the source and says, is this a good source? Is this an effective source? Okay, why is this credible? You also want to look at the author. Okay, so surgeon is a medical doctor specializing in adolescent behavior. Okay, blah, blah, blah. This source is credible and persuasive because blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that's my analysis. Summary, analysis. Now my response. In the response section, that is where you talk about how this is going to benefit your research, your report, your essay. This article will benefit my essay by providing evidence that links social media to negative adolescent behavior. Okay, that's my response. Something that shows how this is related to what I want to write about. So then later when I start building my paper, I can come back to this annotated bib and automatically I see, okay, all right, yep, that's what this was about. Okay, yep, this is still a good source, and oh, it's going to benefit my paper by doing this. That I want to talk about this in my second main point on my third page, okay, whatever. So it's a great research tool to organize your sources, to look at the efficacy of the sources, and know exactly where they fit in with what you want to say and what you want to do with your paper. Okay, so your mission as it is, okay, this week, annotate 5 possible, notice I said possible sources for your written product. Okay, next week we're going to talk about the written product. We're going to talk about what I want to see with this written product. For now, focus on your sources. Okay, think about your topic. What's the controversy here in your future discourse community? So annotate 5 possible sources. Later on, you may add and subtract those sources. So later when you get into your paper, you may be like, I don't really want to use that article. I think I want to use, this other one that I found. That's fine. You don't have to go back and change the annotated bib. Also, you're not going to attach the annotated bib to your final product. This does not stand in as a replacement for a works cited page or a references page. Okay, this is something that is exclusive. It's on its own. After we finish it, you're going to reference it as you build the paper, but it's not going to be attached to the paper. Okay, so annotate those 5 sources. I recommend using the ASU library. Okay, look at your textbook to get a feel for formatting, and then also to get a feel for annotated bibs. There's some information about those in there as well. Then, as you think about your topic, post that as a 5 to 7 sentence topic proposal to our forum for this week. Okay, and then go ahead and respond to another classmate. So that's going to be your objective this week. Find that topic, controversy and future discourse community. Set up your annotated bib, 5 sources annotated with a summary, analysis, response. So you're going to have at least 3 sentences in each annotation, okay, for each source. Each source has the citation and the annotation with the summary, analysis, response. Okay, 5 sources total, alphabetized. If you're running problems, if you need help, as always, email me. We can set up a Zoom appointment. Last week I was sick. This week I should be fine. Okay, and we'll do that. We can communicate that way. All right. So thank you, folks, and good luck with week 4.